am excited to announce my new podcast, Giving Legends. It's an opportunity for me, Hannibal Navies, and my co-host Charlie Batch to talk with people of influence who are committed to building a legacy through service. Stay tuned and learn what makes them giving legends.
Welcome to another edition of Giving Legends podcast, and we are joined. I'm here with Hannibal Navies, along with my good friend Jerome Bettis. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, man.
Not a problem, man. As we all get back, part of this podcast is talk about what we're doing off the field, but of course, we got to touch a little bit about you and what you did on that field, man. Obviously, a Hall of Fame career. What do you remember about your career? Obviously, is it taking you many different places?
Yeah, that's the interesting part. My career was a lot of probably shouldn't have happened, right? Probably shouldn't have been playing football. I didn't start playing until high school, and so the career kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't initially, when I started playing football, I didn't love the game and all this kind of things. So we'll talk a little bit about that later in terms of how I got started from a foundation perspective, because there's a correlation to football there. But my career was such that I was always evolving because obviously not having a long history of playing the game, like from Little League and all that, I didn't really know the positions that I was playing. And so, in college I played fullback. When I got to the NFL, they moved me to tailback. And so it was a plethora of different things that I needed to learn that I didn't know. So, the one thing I did know was the blocking part, right? I had that figured out from playing fullback. But everything else was a learning process. So each year of my career, I had to learn something. So, my first year, I'll never forget, I had a great year. I was rookie of the year and everything, but I was beat up because I didn't make anybody miss. I was just hitting everybody. I mean, I was a fullback, playing tailback. And so I was just a bull in the china shop. And I knew that if I wanted to play this game long term, that I needed to evolve, and I needed to change, and I needed to be a tailback and not a fullback. And that meant learning how to make people miss, learning how to stiff arm, spin move, all these kind of things, third arm, third leg, balancing. And so all these things I had to set out to learn each off season. So the first off season, I was working on a stiff arm, and then there was a guy that had played with me at Notre Dame, Ricky Waters. He had a great stiff arm, so I used to go back and watch his stiff arm, how he did it, and how natural it was, and just trying to learn it. So in the off season, that's all I was doing, was just hitting everything I could hit, bang, 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 right? And so the next season was the spin move, and I looked at Barry Sanders. He had the best spin move ever because he could spin and not lose any of the momentum, and then he was right back into his run. So that was like, okay, that was important. And then the next year it was about really being good at making people miss, right? Really working on it, the 3-step, bang, bang, bang. And so each year it was always something to get better. And so with my career, for it to end up in the Hall of Fame, it's one of those you say, wow, because I didn't see that coming because I didn't even plan on playing in the NFL. Right. So to have all of that success happen, I think back on my career and I know that I'm very blessed because, it wasn't something that I set out to do, and to be able to have had the career that I've had, and the numbers, and win a championship, and to do all those things, and to finish my career in the Hall of Fame, it's just special.
Really absolutely, and it's been a blessing to watch you. Of course, when you became a member of the Steelers, that's my hometown, born and raised there, so I was excited. Yeah. But then ultimately having a chance to play with you and getting to that point. And here's the one thing, Hannibal, that people don't know. Like running backs, you're kind of watching the quarterback drills all the time. And you're going back to doing 3-step, evade and rush, and Jerome would always emulate that, right? He'd be like, this is what I would do here, blah, blah, blah. It probably was – so in 2001, you think you threw a touchdown pass against the Buccaneers, right?
Yes.
So you threw a halfback pass against the Buccaneers. So I thought it had to be – I don't know if it was 2002 or 2005. We were playing the Bengals. We were in Cincinnati. And Jerome would always say, man, if I threw this pass, man, I would evade. I'd go ahead and buy time. I would throw. We were on the 10-yard line, and we called a halfback pass. And they pitched this ball to Jerome. And he goes, and he's evading. He gets tagged good.
Toe up.
And he throws that ball. Now we go on and score on that play, but not on that touchdown. But he comes to the sideline, and everybody's like, JB, what happened to all that moves? You want to make somebody miss? He's like, man, they let me have it.
Yeah, you learn that your position is your position
for a reason.
And you need to stay in your lane because that quarterback position is serious. You got spears coming at you every which way, and everything speeds up a little faster than I was presuming. So yes, I was very much mistaken.
That was a hilarious moment, man. I don't know if you talked about that one many times, but that was hilarious. We laughed about that one on the sideline.
That's one that I don't really recall very much, very often, because not too many times I took a good shot.
Absolutely.
And that's where I really couldn't protect myself as much as I wanted to, because I had to get the ball out and at least get it out of bounds so that we didn't lose yardage. So it was. That was a tough
free shot on you.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Exposed the ribs and everything.
Didn't like that. Didn't like that.
I had to laugh at that one because that's the first time I really talked about that with you on that particular show. But man, we're talking about as you kind of go through the course of your career, at some point, of course, the way that your career was going, and you decided at some point that you were going to decide to give back and maybe start your foundation. Take me through that process.
So,
I would like to thank Athletes Charitable for sponsoring today's Given Legends podcast. Athletes Charitable offers a concierge membership service that provides the tools and resources to build a legacy through service. Our athlete-led team has the first-hand experience and expertise to provide hands-on support that simplifies the entire process for athletes and entertainers to reach their social entrepreneurship goals and create lasting impact in their communities. To learn more, check out the link in the bio.
Like I was saying a little earlier, my career started in high school. I'd said in high school, I've got to figure out a way to get to college. I've got an older brother, older sister. And I said, I knew our family structure. I knew financially we had no way of getting me to college. My sister was going, my brother. And so for me, I knew there was not going to be any money left to go to college. So I said to myself, I've got to find a way to get to school, right? What can I do? And so football became the natural choice. I wasn't tall enough for basketball, but I was pretty fast, pretty good athlete. So I said, I'll play football. And so I went out, played my first year. Yeah, moderate success. Was a backup linebacker, played a little bit on the varsity team, but for the most part, played on JV. And so that summer, I went to a football camp, and it was the Reggie McKenzie football camp. And Reggie was a former Buffalo Bills player, offensive lineman, went to University of Michigan, was a All-American, and, had a ton of success. And so he decided to give this football camp. And I went to the camp for the first time after my freshman year, and I was blown away at the competitiveness, the level, how guys got kind of interacted with each other. It was school against schools. I had about 6 or 7 of my teammates there, and in all the rival schools, you see the kids, right? And so it was one thing to play against them, the helmets, and you don't have any kind of connectivity. But now you're in the lines with these guys, you're talking to them, and you get some camaraderie, right? And so I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And so then you have the pros that were there. The guy who was kind of leading the charge, obviously, it was Reggie McKenzie's camp, but Pepper Johnson, who was a linebacker for New York Giants at the time, and they had just won a Super Bowl, or I think they were right about winning the Super Bowl. He was the director, right? And so it was him, Keith Byers, Chris Carter, all these guys, right? And I'm like, man, this is amazing to see these NFL guys. Well, even more important than that, Pepper Johnson went to my same high school. And so I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't even consider a career, in the NFL. I was just like, wow, these guys kind of, came from the same place that I come from, and they do the same things that I'm doing now, right? Why can't I? And so that's kind of started the process of, well, maybe this can be something, right? And didn't know what, but I developed the love of the game going to that football camp. And so went back the next year. And so each year it was more of a push to become the leader, one of the leaders of that group, and so it was just, you did everything for that week because I wanted them to know who I was. I wanted all the players, I'm here, right? So it was just that competitiveness. It just came out of me. And out of nowhere, it was like, boom. Well, the camp also focused on you as a student. So they had a mentoring program. They had a SAT program. So they had all these programs. I'm like, man, and they're helping me out in so many ways. I was so thankful, right? And so as my career developed, I go back my junior year, go back my senior year, and, everything's starting to happen. And then I go to Notre Dame, and I was just so happy to be able to come back because now I was able to be a coach, right? So now I'm a coach at the camp, and I'm going through it. And I asked Reggie, why do you do this, right? Why are you doing this? Because I found out that he wasn't making any money. I mean, he was actually, paying some money, some of his own coming out of his pocket for some of the lunches and stuff like that. And I'm like, Reggie, why are you doing this? And he, I never forget, he said, if I can affect one kid's life, if I can change one kid's life, then it's all worth it. And I'm sitting there like, you changed my life, man. You did, right? And so once I realized how powerful that was, I said to myself, when I get the opportunity, I will make sure that I'm going to build a foundation that's going to try to affect and change the trajectory of just one kid, right? And that's my mindset. And so when I got to the NFL, that was my purpose. I said, I've got to find a way to start a foundation and hopefully affect kids and try to do it maybe not the same way, but get the same results, right? And so that was my mission. And then I said, okay, I'll figure it out. Obviously, I was playing in Los Angeles, so it was a lot harder to do some of the things I wanted to do. So as I got to a little bit closer to home in Pittsburgh, the foundation kind of ramped up, and we started doing a lot more. And the goal was always just to try to affect a young kid's life and change their trajectory because I was an at-risk kid and I was fortunate enough to go to a camp and it changed my life. And so if I can do that, then that's what it's all about. And that's what made me really want to start my foundation.
And I think ultimately when you get to that point of starting it, but you had many different ways that you could have went. Mm-hmm. You could have went football camp, you did. Asthma, something that impacted you as a child, but then ultimately you focused on literacy. Talk about how you got to that point and maybe how you kind of integrated all of those into one.
Yeah, so we've had different iterations of the foundation in terms of what we've kind of focused on. And so we did the football camp. That was the easiest, obviously, because we were able to kind of piggyback off of the Reggie McKenzie camp. So I became the director of the camp, right? That was the natural order of things. And so my foundation was involved in all of those things as well. And then we did a camp in Pittsburgh as well. So just trying to build off of that. And then eventually we said, we want to do more. We think we're ready. Because what a lot of people don't realize is it's a lot of work. A foundation is not just, hey, I'm gonna slap my name on the wall and throw some money at it and so it was. And I'm really proud of my foundation because I have never put my money in the foundation. I always felt that's not the right way to do things, to use it as a opportunity to get some kind of benefit from a taxable standpoint. And I always felt that if you're going to help, or you're going to, you got to raise the funds, you got to, show people your commitment. And it's not just me throwing money at it, trying to make it right. So that was the first part of it. And then I said, okay, what can we do next? You know what I'm saying? And so the next part was we started a scholarship. And so the scholarship was for any kid that went to Notre Dame that played in any of the cities that I played in. So and it kind of grew because obviously I had only been in LA and St. Louis, and then when I got to Pittsburgh, and then it was Detroit, and then it was all of the cities at that point that I had played football in. So then we said, okay, well, we want to do more. We want to try to impact kids at a younger age, because what we realized was doing the football camp was one thing, but the kids that we're reaching, it's kind of too late to really impact them in a way that is beneficial for them going forward, right? So we said, you know what? We want to reach them a little earlier than high school. We want to reach them in middle school, where then they can take this information, they can use it, and they can build from it, right? And so you said, okay, let's go a little younger. So then we went middle school, and we started doing programs just to really try to reach the kids in middle school. And now we've kind of dipped into, elementary side, but more middle school. And so we want to try to affect them that way. And so now, after COVID, we took another pivot, and then we said, okay, the kids are really struggling in terms of the connectivity. They either don't have devices, or they don't have the connectivity to get to get to the internet, right? So what do? So then we started to provide those things, right? Tablets and connectivity. And then we said, okay, well, now we have to provide a place for them to go, right? And so then we started to do a session where they would come in, and we would call it the check-in. You come in, you check in, and we have classes, right? And so we have different teachers teaching different subjects and different days. And that was through COVID, because obviously, the kids weren't in school. And so we just felt this was a cool way, and we had music going, had a DJ, and it was just a great way to really bring the kids in. Obviously, there was no after school situation, so we created this check-in philosophy. And then we said, okay, well, now we want to take it to the brick and mortar side. And so we teamed up with Forward Fund in Detroit and started putting the programs on the ground. And so that's been the next iteration of what we're doing. We're actually, we had our sixth year of classes that we're graduating kids and taking them through full rotations. We've got an entrepreneurship class, and I was so happy because just last week we had another group that just graduated, and so we had two girls who had come back. They had a younger sister that was in the program. And these girls had been out of the program. They were one girl was just graduating high school. And it gave me so much joy when she told me, yeah, I got this company. Since I was in the program, it's the third or fourth iteration of this company. What we're doing, we were baking, selling baked goods, and now we have cookies and this and that, and then it kind of grew to different things. So now she's kind of all things desserts, and she's online, and I'm like, wow, it's just incredible, because I always felt that entrepreneurship, it can be taught to a degree, in the belief that you can go out and build your own brand, start your own company, do the things that you want to do. You just need a little bit of a push, right? And so that's why I wanted to come up with this entrepreneurship. Some people thought maybe entrepreneur. Well, you need money. I said, well, you don't. You need an idea, right? You need belief, and I think that's kind of how it all started. So I was just so proud to see the girls come back. It was two young girls. One just graduated. One is graduating next year. They went through all the way through the program, and they both have their own companies, and they got an EIN number and all this. I'm like, oh wow, this is incredible. So it's great to see how you start something and see where it goes, and I'm just so happy to have done that, because again, all I want to do is affect one kid, right? And to know that they're taking from this and they're growing it and taking it way past what I saw, right? Because I saw it as an opportunity to learn, how to, if down the road, maybe you may want to start something and you have a little bit more of a belief that you can, and not like this is so strange and foreign to me. That's what my thoughts were. I wasn't that we're going to start companies now and that these companies are going to go forward. That was never the thought. But to see it happening is just like it was a great moment that I was able to enjoy, because it's actually coming to fruition.
One thing I was going to ask you, JB, I obviously know about your football accolades and know all about that, but I know a lot of people that know you, played with you, and they don't speak about your football. They speak about you more off the field and being around you in your philanthropy more than they talk about anything, man, which is why you're here on Giving Legends. I guess one of my questions is, how did, and every time I attend your events, you have so much support from your teammates and people around the NFL and just athletes in general. How important is that support from other people, other athletes to your foundation?
It's critically important, because, as a former football player, you use whatever celebrity you have to try to, create that change, right? To try to draw in that investment of whether it's financial or that investment in time, right? That the parents give us, their children for a couple hours a day, and that's an investment that they're making, right? And so to have the guys come in and show that they're vested as well, because they could be anywhere, right? Guys, they're busy as ever, right? And so to carve out some time to come and celebrate what I'm doing, the foundation, and help me, raise the funds for that investment. It's so important, because you can't do it without them. And so to know that they're willing to help, it makes a big difference. And I just believe that if you do the right things and you do right by people, they'll do right by you, right? And so I try to support all of my teammates and my former teammates as much as I can, and all of the guys from all over the NFL. I try to do that because I understand what they're doing, right? Because it's exactly what I'm trying to do, right? I know how difficult it is. I know what we try to do, raising money, and we're out there, we're begging, but we're begging for these kids, right? It's like I'm not too proud, because I know who is benefiting. Right, I can care less about, I can care less about what you think of me. It's what you think of these kids, and what's going to happen if I don't, right? And so those are the things that I think about. I missed that opportunity to reach that kid because I didn't. That's not going to be the reason. So that's kind of how I approach it.
I remember, and I having firsthand knowledge and being a locker mate of his for years, sitting back and seeing how he conducted his business. And really, one of the things that I appreciated was the fact that even at Christmas, you get to the point and, everybody kind of going around, floating around, and everybody was just like, man, they would have so many requests from families that I would love something signed by Jerome. Right. And JB didn't waver from that. He sat in his locker during lunchtime, and it was almost like, whatever you need me to sign, brother, I got you. Yeah. And he would just sit there and sign everything. And everybody's like, wow, that's JB. And I remember one of the questions that I asked him early on when I first got to Pittsburgh in 2002. I said, JB, why do you show up to everybody's event? Like all the things you have going on. And he looked right now, he said, man, if I don't show up to their events, how can I expect them to show up to mine? And that was right there. I was like, that's who you have right there. That's the type of person he is. To your point, Hannibal, when people talk about him, they talk not only on the field, but off the field because how genuine of a person he is.
Absolutely. Question I also have for you is really about, one of the reasons why we do this podcast is to give back to the next generation of athletes or philanthropists that want to do what we've done, right? And you spoke about it earlier about it being very difficult. A lot of people just think you put your name on something. They think Jerome Bettis, he's going to get all the money in the world. He's fine. He's good, right? But it's a lot of work that you put into that. So if you can go back to the beginning days, right, of when you started this and talk to your younger self about the woes and really the work they had to go through, what would you change? What would you tell your younger self about philanthropy or foundation work that you're doing now if you could change it back in the day?
Oh, good question. If I had to do it all over again, I would have. I probably would have met more people outside of the world of sports. So my first 3 years, or first 4 or 5 years, I don't know if I can remember one person that I met that I tried to even develop a relationship with from a foundation standpoint, right? And so you meet all these people and they want to help. And so you just have to be willing to ask the question, right? Hey, are you interested in doing this? And your company, and I met so many people, right? And you're like, I lived in LA after I left there, I was in Pittsburgh. I was still there for about 7 years. So it's like I didn't reach out to anyone there. And I would tell myself, hey, man, get a pen. You get that business card, write that moment, how you met them and a little something to remind you, and save that business card, right? Call him, send him a picture, let him know, hey, man, I appreciate meeting you, right? And I want to talk about my foundation down the road if it's possible, right? Any of that, right? And I didn't do any of that. And so I think about the missed opportunities that were there because, like I said, it's tough, raising the funds for these programs, and you building the relationships with the corporate partners that you have. And so I think I missed a ton of corporate opportunities that I had. I was doing commercials and all this kind of stuff with all these companies, and they're getting the benefit, right, of my celebrity, but I'm not taking advantage of that opportunity. And I think if I had a chance to go back, it'd be a totally different story. I figured it out, but I figured it out, 6, 7, years in, as opposed to 2, 3 years in. So my old self, I would go back and be like, hey, man, take advantage of that.
I would like to thank United Charitable for sponsoring today's Giving Legends podcast. United Charitable is a national nonprofit that focuses on guiding you on your charitable journey. Whether you like to simply streamline your giving or you like to create your own charitable initiative, United Charitable has the knowledge and resources to support you. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in our bio.
Yeah. And getting to that point, like you say, figuring it out. And once you figured it out, man, you did so in a big way. How humbling was it when you received that phone call and you were named NFL Man of the Year?
That was amazing because, again, it's not that I did any of this for the attention, for the accolades. I mean, I did it because I knew that's what was important to me. And so to be acknowledged, right, and given the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, obviously being a running back as well, and Walter Payton being an hero of mine, because growing up in Detroit, we saw the Bears twice a year, and so I got a chance to see a whole lot of Walter Payton, and he did a lot of running against us. So, I was a big fan, and so to ultimately get the award and what the award signifies, right? What it means. That was the humbling part about it, because obviously there was no blueprint to it. It was about trying to do the best I could and try to impact as many kids as I could. And it's just great to see that what the NFL has done with the NFL Man of the Year, because when I won it, it was I got the award at the commissioner's press conference, right? And it was a small little blurb that he got a chance to acknowledge. And now they bring a lot of light to it. And it's important because it shines a light on all of these players, right, that are doing great things in their communities, but it gives them an opportunity, a vehicle to have the donations, right? And that's the lifeline of any foundation. So to give all of these foundations that opportunity to shine a light on them, I just think it's an incredible thing that the NFL has done, and how they've developed and grown the award, because I think it is that important. It really is. It's that important because, so many players are given so many opportunities. It's important to try to give back as best you can. But I do tell guys, if it's not in your heart, don't do it. If it's not in your heart, don't do it, because you're going to fail if it's not the right intentions, right? If you're not doing it for the right reasons, is because it's tough, and a lot of guys don't realize how tough it is, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm gonna start a foundation under it," and then all of a sudden, the foundation, it's not a 501c3. You didn't fill out all the correct forms. You didn't go through the process, and all of a sudden now you got this money here, and it's not tax deductible. And now you got all these problems that you're dealing with, and now you're like, okay, well, I'm throwing here, and you're not making the impact that you really could if you took your time and you did it right. And that's why I tell guys, I said, try to figure out what's important to you. It may not be a foundation. It may be a cause, right? I support breast cancer for this reason, right? My mother is a breast cancer survivor, and so it is important to me, right? So if that's important to you, then focus there, right? Try to help in that category. So I try to explain to guys that it's not, all roses. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication. And if you're not committed to it, do something else. You can still make an impact without having to form your own foundation.
And what is, you've cemented your legacy in football. You've been Hall of Fame for 100, 200 years, right? So your legacy is cemented in that. What is your Hall of Fame career like? What does your legacy look like? And what's next for you with your foundation? What does that look like?
Well, my true legacy, I believe, is my children. So I've got a 18-year-old daughter, and I've got a 16-year-old son, and it's been a challenge raising them. That's been the toughest of all challenges. So I'm extremely proud of who they are becoming, and looking forward to seeing the next stage of their lives and how they evolve and grow. And so that's the part that I'm most excited about. But I'm also excited about the foundation in terms of where it's going. To have the ability to start the programs, that's where I believe we've been able to make the biggest difference. And I think what I want to eventually do is because I see the entrepreneurial programs are benefiting the kids, and I want to grow that. So I want to ultimately be in more cities, more states, trying to show these young kids that are, and my foundation really focuses on at-risk kids, because that's what I was. I was an at-risk kids and underprivileged kids that don't have that opportunity, right? They're not getting the resources that they really desperately need. So we try to bridge that gap. And so try to come into a couple cities, and grow and provide some of these resources and develop some of the entrepreneurial skills that I know they have, but it hasn't been touched on because it's not something that you learn in school. It's not something that it's in the manual, right? And so we take them step by step and we show them and they see, because you've got to understand. And I tell all the kids, I mean, Nike was a idea in a guy's head, right? It wasn't just this name brand company. It was an idea. It started, right, just like you're thinking about what you want to do. That's how that company started. Apple, it was an idea, right? It's all these companies started with an idea, right? And so once they realized that all of it was an entrepreneurial spirit that got all of these companies started, then they grasp it and realize it. And I think that's something that is not taught in our country. And so I want to try to expand that and grow that so that more kids believe that their ideas are important, because if they believe their ideas are important, they act on them, they do more, they dream more, they believe they can be more, and all of a sudden, then you start to see that growth, that development, not just in companies, but in life. And so that's the goal.
And I think ultimately, as we close here, as we're coming short on time, in your Hall of Fame speech, you talked to your son directly. 2006, you lost your father, rest in peace. What does your dad, is he smiling down on you right now? What is he thinking right now in your mind?
Yeah, I think he is. He's smiling. He's smiling, to see my daughter, because he was so big on the girls, right? Because my brother has 2 daughters, and so he was so big on the girls, right? And to see them and see how my daughter has grown and developed and become the young lady that she is. And then to see my son, to see how respectful, how kind he is, and to see how he's been able to grow. And so my charge to him was to be better than me, right? Be a better person than I am. And he is, right? And I'm seeing it. And so my dad would be so proud to see that his name is being carried in the right way. And that's what I'm proud of too.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Awesome is special, man. Yeah. We appreciate you joining us on the show.
Problem.
But before we go, please tell everybody where they can go to support you.
The busstopsherefoundation.org. All of the information, all the things that we're doing is there. And they can help, and it's not just financial, it's time as well, volunteers and those type of things that's always needed as well when you implement some of the programs or the golf tournament or some of the other things that we do. You need help, and so whatever help we can get, we are appreciative. So the busstopsherefoundation.org is where they can go and find us.
Thanks, JB. I appreciate you,
man. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. You guys, I just got to give you guys your flowers as well in terms of being able to shine a light on foundations, right? And like I said earlier, what the NFL is doing in terms of promoting all of the foundations that each of these finalists have in each of their cities. They're talking about it. They do a commercial and they show, and so now people see what they're doing. But you're able to reach so many people and impact so many people and help all of these different foundations. So a credit to you guys, man, for what you guys doing. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Find us on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and comment on what inspires you to be a giving legend in your community.